Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from London. It's just gone a couple of minutes past midday here, making it a few minutes past 1100 UTC. Really big shout out to everybody joining the stream live today. Loads and loads of you recently, and well, not just recently, for the last kind of couple of years, but certainly ramping up lately with the markets becoming more and more interesting by the day. So do appreciate each and every one of you that stops by to listen to me ramble about these crazy markets, projects, and everything else that's in there. Hello, my friend, and thank you for the comment. I'm very, very sorry that, being typically English, my handle of foreign languages is terrible, so I'd love to pronounce your name, but it looks beautiful in your native language. Craigie boy, how are we doing, my friend? Good to see you. JG, how are we doing? Morning. Right, so first thing, I just want to open up. I will go through this again at the end for you all. So our partners over at OKX are running a really cool giveaway at the moment. All right, so it's really simple. If you're not using OKX, obviously you just pop on there, register on OKX using the affiliate link, which I will show you in a moment, which is available pinned on our Twitter profile. You can deposit a minimum of $100, all right, and you've got to trade that same amount, and then you just submit your OKX UID through the form that's all provided for you. It's a really simple process. Obviously, we stress test the crap out of this stuff before we ever put it across. And why is it of benefit? Well, really simple. Once you're verified, you unlock 600 SOPH tokens or HUMA tokens, all right, which are your OKX bonus. You also get a month of free access to the Bird Nest Premium trading community, for which myself, my trading team, or our trading team over there, all of our resources, our official calls, which we'll check that out a little bit later on the website. I've been doing astonishingly well, 70 to 80R average over the last few months, which, you know, if you just want to compartmentalize that, even if you only had $10 risk, you could have made, you know, $600 to $800 off of those calls in a single month. So imagine if you had 1,000 or 10,000, for example, but it's all relative. You also get full access to the Burbicator Pro. Now, I know I don't show this a lot on the streams because I try and keep them quite short and sharp, but it's our trend following system. It's been developed by Crypto Burb. He's used it to make multi millions in these markets. It isn't a shill. It's really freaking clever, this thing. And you get access to that. It's a trend following indicator. It's a standalone trading system. It basically does everything you need, whether you want to spot divergences in the market. It finds, I think, between 10 and 13 different oscillators and then works out the divergences across all of them and gives you that as a percentage, whether you use it for the trend following trader. So you're aware and get a visual representation of if you're on the right side of the trend on the higher time frame, on your execution time frame. Especially if you're new to the markets or you are a trend follower, it takes a lot of the guesswork out. It's really easy for setting alerts, bits and pieces like that. Most of the team, myself included, use it for our investment portfolio. It's a really good bit of kit. You also get all the daily market calls, trade setups, education, community support resources, access to the team. You can ask us questions day in and day out. We really want to kind of open up the community at the moment. I think market conditions are catching a lot of people offside at the moment. Conditions are a little bit tricky, so ultimately, you know, why not come and learn from a professional trading team, or certainly work through it with us. So all you have to do, you can see on the screen at the moment what's there. I will just quickly ping you this as well. I'll go through this again at the end of the show so you all have an opportunity to get involved. But here you can see on the TBN Twitter, just go to the top. You got the pinned post at the top, walks you through everything to do, and here's the affiliate link for you to use. All right, so without ado, let's get on to the charts. All right, now remember, this is our all request show. Okay, so Horace, hey, when 100k, when 200k, Horace, come on, stay with us. Awesome. Yeah, and that liquidity 103.2 was swiped did work very well. Shay, good morning, my friend, as well. So we're going to take a look today. It's all request show, right? Or chart request show. If you've got any charts you want me to take a look at, we can look at cryptocurrency, we can look at Forex, we can look at stocks. Anything you want, let me know. We'll take it a look and I will share the thoughts on the chart. Apologies, dog is having a sneezing fit currently in the background. So what have we got down so far? So obviously we're going to start with BTC and we cover ETH as well. We've been asked for Solana, AVAX, EstateX, Axon DAO, and I think there might be a couple of others that the team are getting ready to pass across to me. So do let me know if you've got anything. You can pop it in the chat and we will make time to have a look. Resv, nice. Doge, yeah, absolutely. We get some Doge action in there. Let's see if the old Doge father can make a resurgent meme comeback here, right? Solana we've already got on the list, and we will certainly look at Injective for you as well, Craigie boy. If you've got any others, guys, girls, let me know as we go through the show, and we'll crack on. So, Bitcoin. Where are we with Bitcoin at the moment? Let's just turn these bits off here for a minute. These are all going to play into our H4 context, which we're going to cover momentarily. We're also going to pop the daily off for a second and just retain that nice clean focus on the weekly. We're going to start on the weekly and work our way down. We got Favre. Yeah, of course, mate. Let's get on it. Going to force me to be efficient, guys. I love that. Hello, would you be able to review Gibril Master? For you, of course, mate. Of course. With pleasure. You might just need to direct me to the ticker if I get it wrong, though, right? You know the drill. And Sui. Yeah, love that, guys. Grandmaster Pikachu, great to see you as well, my friend. Right, so let's get ourselves on the weekly quickly, right? Let's get the higher time frame context, remove the noise, remove the external stresses and pressures, and look at the fact that we're just getting a beautiful retest of the prior all-time high and the prior all-time high, right? Previous all-time highs, when they cap the market, are really, really key. It doesn't matter what time frame you're on. It doesn't have to be an all-time high. It's just a high, prior daily high. If you're somebody like me that spends most of your time intraday trading, like day trading, scalping, etc., then daily highs, daily lows, session highs, session lows. How does price engage with it? This low here, how did we engage with this? Swept, came back above it, right? Showing a little bit of bullish action here. Price ultimately didn't manage to capitalize on that, but then it swept out the low that it left here, reacted in this beautiful bullish gap. We see the wick come below. What is this showing us? This is showing us that sellers have tried to force the market down here, right? I do that in red so it stands out a bit more. Sellers have tried to force the market down there, but actually buyers have stepped in. All of a sudden, everything starts to get absorbed back to the upside. And we close back above this level, showing a little bit of strength. Ultimately, bears have been in control of this move all the way down. And again, we just look at the liquidity from the highs. Took out this high, nice sweep. Things were super bullish here, so we wait patiently, see the absorption here. We then get the bearish engulfing. We say, okay, no problem. Price reaching for liquidity lower down. We see the low down here. Start by getting a really nice reaction here. Look how the buyers stepped in, but then they were just overwhelmed by the sellers. All right. Ultimately, price is then looking for the next key liquidity pool, which it found here and here before it started its move back to the upside. So just to give you context, that's why we want to decant this same approach across different time frames so that we find that consistency. So what else are we looking for? Gaps, areas of demand and supply. So, or order blocks like this, down closed candles here, price breaks out above this. This is very much a level of interest. We absolutely blew away from this, taking out this trend line resistance as well. Nice retest and price went away. Again, we kind of came up into this area. What happened? Met the previous all-time high. Very, very natural for that to be a key profit-taking area, right? And definitely a trap for breakout traders or people that were late to this move. Price corrects back down. We're looking again, remember, for liquidity. We found it below this low here and within this bullish gap. And again, we're just looking for how price reacts here. If you're a higher time frame trader, you're focusing on the weekly, the monthly, etc. Maybe using the daily to position in and out of charts. If you're somebody on the opposite end of the scale like me and you're framing these things around a daily chart, you still want this bias, you still want this context. Where's the market reaching for? What are the current conditions and how are they looking? Michael, hello, mate. Good to see you with us again, as always. JG waiting for the rug pull patiently. I just get that meme in my head of Mr. Bean standing there just looking at his watch in a field. Craig, that hammer on the weekly with the long tail in March. Which one? This monster? Do you mean the one in Feb? That was insane. It just, the market just, the buyers, I think basically what happened was we had these equal lows down here, right? The market was still super, super bullish at this point, and people were kind of praying for that pullback. The market, as it does so well, filled all these orders up, yeah, and then just absolutely blew them back out the water again. Price then consolidates. For those of you that maybe aren't kind of looking towards the dynamics of price action, what you're really looking for is expansions, consolidations, expansions, consolidations. The consolidations are where prices is considered fair value, right? So it pings about in a range for a while until it's either considered too cheap here and it searches for higher prices to be considered value, still considered cheap here, so it moves up. Now it's being considered value here. That's why if we break back down here, right, below the prior all-time high, we're basically back in this range, yeah? Price just forms these collections of different ranges. Let's do this in an obnoxiously bright color so it really stands out, yeah? So when you lose one range, you're looking for price to go down and engage with the prior range, yeah, and then it can ping pong around in here for a little while. Ultimately, what we really want to see from Bitcoin, depending on your views on the market, right? But we want to see, or I want to see Bitcoin kind of just chill out above this level. I want to see this really confirm. That's why I wanted to see a retest of this level. We got it pretty much perfectly here. We're still holding the weekly gap. At the moment, the week doesn't really tell us too much. We're 3 days into it, and we've basically got the ultimate doji candle where price is, literally like a very skinny X on the chart. But does X mark the spot? That's the big question. The micro psycho, hello mate. Some really interesting views from our friend here on, I'm not even going to try and explain it for you, micro. But if you're interested in it, go and check out his stuff on Twitter. A little bit of wave cycles, a little bit of a kind of interesting spin on Elliott wave and that. So like I said, I've seen people make money in these markets with all kinds of approaches, but definitely interesting. That was the one, Craigie boy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was just a monster how that got bought up so quickly, but then flushed back out, right? So on the daily, let's add a little bit more context in here with our daily levels. This remains on our chart. As I said, there were no long plays in this range until we got this. Ultimately, close above this level. Just to show what this is, because there's obviously a lot more stuff on the chart, especially for me. This is a very key area for me. I explained this before, right? That's the prior all-time high, which is 109,998.9 here on OKX. That's the prior all-time high. The prior all-time high is at 111,987. This is what we came down and we got that beautiful retest of, and now price is moving away. Now, what else did we test into here? Well, quite simply, look at this blue box. What does this represent, right? Well, I focus in on this candle here, right, rather than this whole kind of range. Just a little bit too large for me here because, price came up. This was the last up close candle. Before price sold off, we retested this area, sold off. Retested this area, sold off. Kind of a little retest here as well. Then we retested this here again, continued to sell off, but we showed more strength here, right? Because what you'll notice is these rejections are pretty sharp, which is what we want to see. So pretty sharp rejection down here. Pretty sharp rejection down here, right? This one, not so much. Yeah, just kind of found support in this gap. These ones started violating their arrays as they started to move away their points of interest, such as these bullish gaps that were supporting price. In fact, these two were beautiful because we got this inversion gap here, bullish gap closed below, flush to the lower liquidity, and we had exactly the same move for price here, where here, eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that we held our bullish gap that time, and the order block, right, or the demand. Yeah, area of demand here pushing price up, same as we had this area of demand here. Yeah. So that was bullish, right? Price closes below it here, retests this here, classic flip. Yeah. So this has gone from being demand here to now supply, price ultimately then selling off. So quite a simple approach, really. You're just looking for the key indications that the market is giving us, right? We're not trying to enforce our will on the market. We're having a plan and then we're being reactive to the information. I think it's called the Bayesian law, where you want to be constantly taking on board relevant information and adding that into your process. You don't want to be trying to steamroller these markets saying, well, equity markets are hot, Trump somehow hasn't managed to crash the economy over there yet. Things are looking okay in America on a GDP front. Sod it. You know, people on Twitter are saying I should be buying things, so let's be bullish. Like, just don't be that. Just don't be that person. All right. Just make sure you've got your own structure, your own understanding of it. By all means, listen and take advice, or not even necessarily advice, but just listen to the point of people that you respect in the market, but always plug that into your own decision-making matrix. So this was a really key area. We got an absolute blitz above this. Yeah. We never retested it here. We didn't. This is the candle that closed above it. All right. Price then draws back down to this high. Beautiful retest back to our area that we wanted to see flipped. This was resistance. Yeah. Order block here, bearish order block here, resistance, 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 clear area of supply. And typically what's happened, here's our area of demand. Yeah. And then, or you could even look at it as the down close candles before price pumped higher. So if we were to draw, you know, the blue box around this as well, it would be something like this. All right. Supply, demand. Yeah. Rejection from here down to here. Acceptance in here, back up to here. Then it's stuck here, right? So now we've got the breakout anyway, and we've got the retest. So for me, I'm still pretty bullish on this. I mean, we've retested the prior all-time high. We could come back down a little bit deeper to really kind of test into this area. But actually, as it stands, if you look at it on a daily scale, I know people are looking a bit doom and gloomy at the moment, but a good friend of mine, Macro CRG, said this morning, actually made me chuckle, said, just a few more risk management posts and then back to up only, right? I mean, that guy is just an absolute gem. And he's right. You know, like the market typically kind of panics at these areas when actually what we've had here is, you know, price ranged around here. The market was just not willing to accept this as fair value here. So price is now dropping down to an area where it was considered value before. This is the first kind of test of that area. So I don't mind seeing price come down a little bit deeper into it. The key for me is that we don't want to step back into this range. Remember, we highlighted this range on the weekly, right? You know, something like this just as a really rough box. But if we start closing back down into this area, then I expect price to be ranging back within here. All right. This would then be a large kind of deviation. Price failed to kind of get acceptance here. It steps back in. Breaking back into this range, however, after that would be really bullish. And this could just be a flush. Yeah, this could be a deviation of this range also as well. Right. Price ping-ponging around in here, side to side, comes back underneath. If we step back inside this range here, if we get back above this kind of level, round about 115.7, that kind of area here, we step back in here, then I think things start to look really good. So next thing, let's just take a quick look at the candles. Bullish engulfing candle, okay follow through candle here. This one, even though it looks bearish, for me is a bullish candle, long downside wick showing absorption from the buyers. And now what we're looking for price to do is set this is the higher, a higher low here, and then push up, regaining structure, stepping back into the range, and then above 115.7, I'm back to being bullish to the range highs. But again, I do want to see a breakout of this area here. Nothing to stop price coming in here, ranging around and kind of ping-ponging a little bit. So why would that be a good thing for price? Because they're the conditions that we normally see when alts start to run. In fact, if we look at when price was consolidating up here in Bitcoin, that's when alts had a really, really kind of hot move. We do need to be more selective. Our lead fundamental analyst, KZM, do recommend you give him a follow on Twitter. Just exceptional. Last 4 or 5 calls have all been, I think, 3 to 6x's. And not just that, he's not just shilling these things. He understands the ecosystem so well. He's an on-chain monster, just lives on there. But anyway, so as a team, we meet every week and we make a discussion about the market. We don't try and influence each other's decisions. We just bring together our own niche specialty and we discuss it in an open forum on a Monday. It's one of my favorite times of the week to kind of lock horns and put our heads together with the people that some of the people I respect the very most in the whole industry. And, you know, KZM has been really, really hot on that and just been saying, look, the times really aren't there at the moment that you can just be aping into these alts with no narrative and just holding these things, right? You're just going to get hurt at the moment. The market's just too volatile. The rotation's still not fully into the assets at that end of the risk scale. So we've been maneuvering very, very well. In fact, we've just released our bulletin. It's all completely for free, guys. You can sign up to that. You can find information again through Twitter or on the website, packed with real gems from KZM. So with it being narrative driven, bearing in mind there's millions of tokens now, when I got into cryptocurrency, it felt like there were about 5. In fact, was laughing with Crypto Burb about it the other day and the trading tank, because I genuinely think when they got into the market, it was literally Bitcoin. And that was the real kind of well, still the major one now, right? But when you think that there's millions now of tokens just because it's so easy to just mint, release, blah blah blah, the market's oversaturated. So make sure you've got a good understanding on the narrative. Why should it be hot? Things like AI, things like real world, like RWAs, right? Yeah, sure, Lucerino, you're very, very good question there, my friend, and very much. What have we got? So it is XBT. XBT KZM, ladies and gents. Honestly, please, I would really recommend giving this guy a shout. It's not to do it for me, and I don't think he's really actually that bothered about having a massive Twitter following. It's just he's making us an incredible amount of money, and he's doing it in such a structured and educated way. You just learn so much about the process of why they are good to go. Lucerino, very welcome. I hope you find his content as interesting as I do. I know he's just works tirelessly on this stuff and understands things that are well beyond my simple trader brain. Right. So anyway, with that aside, to get ourselves back to the charts here, we want Bitcoin back in this range here, chilling out and alts to pop. There is the narrative. At the moment, a little bit of a dicey place. I said this before. This was the place to long. I didn't, right? Because it happened really late overnight for me. So no entries here. I don't just place limit orders on levels, right? I want to see lower time frame action, like structure recoveries, impulse moves, bits and pieces like that, combined ideally with things like CVD divergences, just so that I've got that little bit of an understanding if the buyers are really there. Lucerino, that's awesome, mate. Fantastic. I think you'll find him a really, really valuable follow. As I do all the team, I really don't shill them enough, in truth, for their talents. Maybe start getting some of them on the show as well for you guys to have a chat to. I'm sure you'll find that really interesting. Or maybe do some kind of roundtable thing, or invite you guys to a live session for one of our trader meetings. Would probably be a little bit more beneficial. Anyway, let's move on to Ethereum. So Bitcoin plan, really simple. I don't even need to go on to the 4 hour here, right? I know where price is within a weekly gap, within a daily gap here. Nice reaction, took out a low, high time frame level retested, clear area. What we're looking for here now to be demand. Why? Because it was supply all the way through here, just constantly rejecting price. Price might dip down a little bit deeper to retest this, but actually at the moment, this is the best case scenario for me, seeing this strong reaction here and price continuing to drive higher. If I wanted a line in the sand, which you'll hear me say quite a lot, which would coincide with price stepping back into this range, it would be this. Just going to leave it in this color. This is a bearish, no, I'm not going to do it in red. This is a bearish gap. Price has seen a rejection here. Ultimately, if price is going to continue moving lower, this area holds and price purges lower. So at the moment, if we look at the market here, we're coming off a lower high into setting what's going to be a lower low. We can see the weakness in the market. We can see the sell-off. So it wouldn't surprise me for price to reject here and move lower. So what do I do to combat that or combat that urge? Well, first of all, I'm not longing in here. It's a bearish gap. It's resistance. It's been rebalanced to here, meaning that we could travel through this. But until we close above it, and lo and behold, what would happen? We would close back into this range, invert this gap, meaning it goes from resistance now to support, and then happy days, right? We saw those inversion gaps earlier on the stream here and how powerful they can be. So really, really clear plan here on Bitcoin. Just get yourself back in the range, mate. Chill out in here for a while, and let's get a big fat alt season underway. That's actually, just ignore that last statement. I absolutely hate that term. So conditioned by the stuff that I read lately. But it's just, look, selective alts, I think, will do really, really well in these market conditions. My personal focus is on things like AI, real world assets. In fact, I'm going to cover with you again one of my favorite projects. A lot of people made a lot of money on this, which again, it's not financial advice. So you're certainly not following anything I say, just sharing my thoughts of why I'm an investor in these projects, and Estate X, who are my number one conviction project here, fighting a huge, they're really fighting against the current, right? In terms of what's happening with crypto at the moment, the risk assets getting pushed back, but they're doing so well. We bought at great levels. I know a lot of you did as well. A lot of people have been messaging me about that. Look, I'm going to cover the chart with you in a minute, right? But this is a long-term hold for me, as I explained. Same with things like Axon DAO or Vert AI, which has been doing quite well recently as well. So let's see what we get. So MicroSoco, all season after Bitcoin dumps below 100k, capital rotation, maybe. I don't think we come back down here. You'd lose so much structure at this point. Maybe if you ping pong around in this range, but I think it would have far reaching consequences if Bitcoin got back into this range here. And I'm not sure the capital would necessarily be there to rotate into alts just because, well, because of a lot of factors. But maybe if it gets back in here, really chills out, and we get some kind of upside on the risk spectrum, then that could be good. But we need to align that with traditional markets that, are cooling off a little bit at the moment, but ultimately the risk bid is still on. So if the risk bid is on and price is crashing down to these levels, there's probably issues. I think we can come back into here, maybe wick down into the range and recover it, but let's wait and see. That's the great thing about having a load of different educated opinions on this. So ETH, where are we with ETH? Good old friend. These levels have been treating us really well. Just really key kind of pivots: support, resistance, obviously resistance, resistance, support, support, deviation, back underneath, resistance, sells off, where to, flushes through this level, resistance here, flushes back down again. And then when we got back above our key support here, again, flush down, retest, sell off. This was a higher time frame gap that we were looking that coincided with the daily level, which was lovely. So this is on the weekly. Price held this here, and then we've just been moving up. Again, with any levels, right? What do we do? Look for the expansion, either a retest of this area, or we're looking for buys within the gap that's left in the expansion above. This is what I really like to see in truth, because it shows me the impetus, shows me that sellers are just getting absolutely steamrolled here, right? This is the end of the phase top. You can't really. One thing I would say, mate, is you never want to speak in definites, right? It's a game of probabilities, so nobody can ever say what's definitely going to happen or not. But I do admire your conviction. So where are we at the moment? Deviated the level, climb back above. So we're here. So basically, we're back in this range, right? This is where we saw the key resistance. Resistance back here, resistance here, really strong rejection here, right? We were monitoring this level as well, which wasn't particularly clean, but we can see when we came into it over here, closed above, held, closed below, resistance, closed above, held, below, resistance. I thought we might just kind of tease into this level again. That's why I've left it on the chart here, just to see if there is real significance, because as you move to a lower time frame, you can see the up and the down, right? So let's have a look, shall we? A 4 hour gives us a lot more clarity here. We see on the daily, this was the key area we were looking to hold. We got that nice dive down into here, just cleared out all this liquidity. People that were late to longing this, right, came back down to this level. People saw this as losing resistance. Again, there's some excellent traders out there that draw these levels with lines, right, which I massively respect. Trading Tank is one of them. But it's, we're not. Sometimes if you don't draw these bang on, you see this as losing a level and underside retest, which fine, you look to sell that off, you make some money intraday, but getting back above it here, so I tend to use boxes a little bit just to kind of see a more generalized area of where price is engaging. But look, big strong move back above this. All right, we got this Monday, great way to start the week. We inverted this gap here, ultimately just looking for this level to hold now and for price to kind of move around in here, a little bit like Bitcoin. We kind of want ETH to be doing well, but maybe not too well, so that capital rotates down into the altcoins, right? Basically, think about it in terms of risk. If you're looking that there isn't really enough upside potentially in Bitcoin for it to warrant the high risk profile that it comes with, then maybe there is in ETH. If you find the upside's a little bit capped in ETH, then you ultimately move into riskier and riskier assets with higher potential but higher risk. And as long as the market conditions support that, then ultimately it should be good for crypto moving forward. But again, the caveat is we have to be selective, sequential. So let's take a look at this on the 4 hour. 4 hour gives us a really nice kind of clean read on this, right? This was a key area here highlighted because it was just, look, consolidation, price rip, consolidation, and then this here really is the key one. That was the last down move before price really kind of stepped it up here. The other thing to say is, what are we looking for from these areas? Quite simply, support and resistance, right? So price comes into this area here, we find support, we're looking for longs, right? If price knifed through this area here and looked to retest it for support, then we would look for shorts. All right, that's how that would work. And we can see that in all key areas of consolidation, right? Or certainly in most of them. We look at this, just draw that across here, right? Key consolidation, support, initial support, but then look when price knifed through it, retested it as resistance and sold off. then starts to climb back in. Remember my terrible analogy about about the hot and cold water. You've got two pans in front of you, or two buckets. One's full of boiling hot water, one's full of tepid water. At the bottom of each bucket, you've got a gold coin, right? So what do? Well, you want to get the gold coin, but you're blindfolded and you don't know until you put your hand in the bucket which one has the boiling hot water in. Well, this is the boiling hot water because you put your hand in and you have to pull it out straight away. Why? Because the water's effing hot. That's why, right? Versus... yeah, if you see price kind of start to stutter around and price kind of spending a lot of time somewhere, then ultimately what we're looking for then is we're not getting that sharp rejection. We're not getting a move away like this. If price, so this is a good example, right? Price breaks out above here into resistance, fine. Price then comes back to test this level here, which was the daily order block. So we're looking for this to offer support. Do we see buyers aggressively stepping in here and going, thank you very much, we're off? Yeah, we don't. The opposite of what we see here. Right? We got that beautiful V-shaped recovery here. Kind of saw this with the rejection up here as well. Here, price came back down, was like, nah, water's all right. No, it's okay, actually. What am I going to do? I'm going to reach down and grab the coin because I can keep my hand in there long enough. You know, the water's tepid enough that you can continue to reach in. We imagine an inverse bucket. Yeah, well, you got the bucket down here, and there's your gold coin. Yeah. And you want to put your hand in to get it, you pop your hand in, F that, it's too hot, you have to pull your hand out, right? So that's why we're looking at how price engages with key levels, right? We're lining that up with fundamental news drivers as well, of course, as well as a good and always having a solid macroeconomic understanding, especially if we're in risk on or risk off conditions. And then we're looking to see how price reacts. Ultimately, buyers were keen to step in here. Right, we saw that strong reaction, even if you were waiting for the structure break. I love trading breakers, right? So for me, something like this was a really nice move out of this area. Yeah, this up close candle here, this was the move up that led to the sweep of liquidity into a key level and then ranked straight back up. And it was just a thing of absolute beauty. All right. So where are we now? Well, we're at this, right? So this was the consolidation that led price higher. It then offered rejection here. We've now ripped back above this here. So this is obviously, you know, a key player in this. This is where the buyers were strong before. Then we got a deviation of this level. Buyers failed to step in here, actually sold it off. Now price has reclaimed this. And look how we're retesting. We're digging back into this area here. And ultimately, we want that to be a little bit less obtrusive. We don't want the chart to look like some kind of blocky Jackson Pollock painting, right? We can refine it down to this order block here. Yeah, why this one here? Well, it wasn't tested. That was the last down move here. Price ripped away. If people were shorting this here and they held through that drawdown, they can mitigate here, meaning they can close those positions out at minimal or no loss. And they can kind of say, okay, I got this one wrong. There was a lot of pressure there. I'm going to wait for more information to come on board, or I'm going to get on board with what the main trend is now, right? Because remember, if people were shorting that here, it hadn't even reclaimed market structure at this point, right? It had only taken out this kind of internal high. Price had this expansion. Now they see a lot more data here, seeing that buyers were actually quite willing to step in. So, you know, it makes sense to kind of long this level. Price starts breaking down below this. Well, I'm still going to be cautious here. I think there's a high likelihood that we hold this area and push up. If not, what's the plan? Well, this is what's been treating us well so far, right? So I think if this is still that area of consolidation, I think I'm going to move that along to here. I know it's on the 4 hour anyway, but just to show you on the daily. And then, you know, if prices dips into this here, I'm just looking for where it's going to find support, right? Because, you know, you want these kind of areas of demand to be a little bit larger. So if you've got this large down move here, this candle to me doesn't mean as much. It does the lower I draw on the time frames. But ultimately, that was, as we can see here, retested perfectly. Down close candle, closed above, price retested it, moved away. So that could be an interesting level as well. I'm not looking to actively short risk assets with these market conditions at the moment. I would need to start seeing closes below here, price coming into these areas and quite aggressively, and then really struggling to get above them. And then I'd be looking for kind of structural breaks, moves, breakers to kind of short in here. Ultimately, if I'm wrong here and that doesn't happen, and price rips back above here, then, you know, there's a lot of strength in that move for it to regain this area. So I just sit flat and then I look to join back on board with the long train up there. So talking about projects I'm really interested in, I want to run through, let's take a look at StateX today. it's just been a great ride with these guys so far. Just like I say, I'm not obsessing about the charts on these ones really. I just kind of want to find those high time frame levels where it makes sense to add. I'm just holding into these for anybody that's been watching the show for a long time. You know, we've been buyers here, right? Deviation here as well. And this, you know, I don't often give myself credit with things like this, but I explained how heavily I was involved when we dipped below this level here. And I even got more when we came back into this area. We just obliterated the down move here. We got the breaker candle here, the up move before the flush. This got a lot of people to sell, weak hands to shed their positions into the market. They were gladly gobbled up by people. Yeah. And then that's it. And then we're back above. And now this is the key level. Just want to see this hold, market conditions continue. And I think this thing just continues to go and go and go. So why is it, why have I got that conviction in it? Well, I come from a slightly different background than what most people probably expect. I didn't get into finance until later part of my life. So I used to run businesses. I started with a music studio, built that into a successful production company, and then started a procurement firm in London that did pretty well, ended up working with major public and private sectors across London and some into Europe. A digital marketing company as well, which taught me a lot about that. But one of my big passions was developing property. And that's what the procurement firm basically turned into in London. We were developing major public sites, private sites as well. And it taught me a lot about the property industry. And all the way through it, when I really first started getting attracted to Bitcoin and, you know, the potential of cryptocurrencies, one of the major things that always stood out for me was just how ripe certain markets are for disruption. You're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry market here. That most other than relatively wealthy people or people quite far up the wealth ladder can afford to invest in property. And when I met these guys and they told me they were bringing this tokenized approach, allowing people to have an investment vehicle, taking little nibbles of property, so you can just invest a little bit, it can pay you out passive income, you can build a property portfolio by part ownership across the world. I literally sat down and grilled them at this event, I think in Singapore and then in Dubai and then back in Dubai. And then one of the guys is from London, so they met with them in London. And I just prepared this barrage of things that I thought could go wrong, when secretly underneath it all, I was really, really excited by the project, just as excited as I am today. But I thought, you know, let's stress test this. And the answers they had weren't just from the side of technology. They have such a deep market understanding of everything in the space. And it's just a wonderful project, incredible team. They're building a wonderful community. I really can't speak highly enough of them. All I would say with things like this is please go and do your own research. If you're into that kind of thing, I would expect you to be as excited as I am about this. And let me know. Like I said, had some wonderful messages for people that, you know, I explained I was buying down here. Other people obviously followed up on that. And just because I had to get barrages of messages coming through from people saying, this is amazing, great. Look, the upside price action is great. We're in this industry to make money, right? But, you know, the people that make the real money in this, and this isn't investment advice. But if you find a project like this that you really like, this isn't something I'm just trying to dip in and out of, right? I'm just looking at good areas to buy. Let's shelve this. Let's wait. Let's see how it develops. I will ultimately probably shed a little bit of profit if we start making into these highs up here, but not a lot. Really not a lot. And that would just be in the case of just protecting the position that I've built from all the way down here. So yeah, let's see. Someone Aslam, it's going to moon, guys. Don't listen to short-term traders. Laugh my ass off. Just don't time the market, buy spot and wait. It's not bad advice, but you obviously need a much better plan than that. You can't just buy spot and wait. Like, in what? And what's the narrative? And let's look at how alts have performed across the board statistically. It's not been particularly great. If you'd been buying and holding, you'd be absolutely on your ass right now. You still need narratives. You still need to understand market conditions, technical analysis. You need fundamental drivers, news, macroeconomics. So, yeah, buy and hold can work, but definitely listen to people more educated. Gibral Master, knowledge is key to success in markets. Exactly right. But it is in anything, you know, like, look, if you wanted to become a solicitor, a doctor, a surgeon, blah, 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 you know, there's a million different things you can do. Becoming a rigger, right? Becoming an electrician, plumbers, all these people, the people that ultimately succeed are the people that work hardest. And look, you can only succeed by just countless hours and hours and hours of just pounding on your craft, right? But yeah, anyway, before I get into motivational quotes. So this is where we are with State X. Again, I don't even need to get off the daily chart here. This thing just excites me. I love it. Love the team. Love the project. Price action has been great lately as well. We've got our key levels to add some more here. So yeah, just a banger project, and it's been really great. I'm really happy for the team and for everybody that's invested in them to see them doing as well as they deserve to do. And I really do think this is, this is just the beginning. What else we got? So let's just take a look at Solana. I think maybe we did this on this is the really simple Sol chart for everyone. No, I think we've been using the crypto chart, haven't we? There we go. Well, hey. Noisy chart. I know these charts are really noisy, guys. Again, probably should do a cleanup session, but all of this TA stays on the chart until it's deleted in live time, so that we obviously have that. I don't want to just spout a load of crap one day, come back to the charts, and then just be like, oh, that didn't work, just delete everything and just, make it different. So we leave this stuff on here, but appreciate it. It does start to look a little bit messy. We'll probably work through and get rid of some of this. But just to give the context, it's, look, when we see these recoveries at key levels, this is a higher time frame level. That's what we want to see price engage with. Doesn't matter what time frame you trade on. You want to look to those higher time frames to really be telling you where the draw on the market is or where those areas are for reaction. We dipped into the weekly order block here. Beautiful reaction. You can start buying here, but you just want to take those higher risk buys in here. You don't want to allocate too much capital. You kind of feather into the position. Then when we got the expansion higher here, holding this gap was key. We held this gap, and then this really was the area for me I was most interested. I added a lot of Solana down here because reacted at the key level, moved up, key resistance above here, safe buy here, mitigate here, and I still have those holdings, right? We've not come back down to this original point. At the moment, this consolidation before we got back above this level is supporting price in here. Ultimately, we're looking for this to be a deviation and then for price to move back above. But something that is worthy of note is that we have closed below this bullish gap. This was a key area I was looking for price to correct to get some buyers in or to add some position and push higher. But we didn't hold this area, right? So it's very worth noting now that has been inverted and should be forming some form of resistance here. If we do continue to hold this resistance, then price ultimately could push all the way back down to the order block, back down here at 133. Not saying that it's going to. We also have a potential low that's developing here around about, well, not around about, towards 155.82. So we might, if we close this week in and around here, we might look to flush that down before moving higher. So at the moment, a lot of this stuff really for me is being is key on the daily and the 4 hour. Again, I just want to see price above this level here. We've got the inversion gap. I want to see that violated. Yes, we could get pushed back down out of that on a weekly basis, but price getting back above here and establishing itself for me is key. This was an interesting area here. We held supported buyers desperately trying to push price up. As soon as we lost this, we retested it here, sold off aggressively, came back again, sold off even heavier. And again, look, came back to that same area of resistance or supply, and we just started to stick to it, like the hot water and tepid water example, so you can reach further in for that pot of gold or coin of gold at the bottom. Again, sharp rejection at this level, underside retest, price sold off. So want to see price back above here. Weekly gap, not as much on the concern as this kind of area of resistance. Ultimately, price has broken down. We've got bearish structure here on the daily, so we could be looking to push down lower. Anything above here, closing in, considering longs up, and especially until the prior all-time high here. As long as we remain below here, probably need to come and sweep out some liquidity below this low, which is 155.82. 4 hour, probably not tons to write about here. This is ultimately the gap that is keeping price suppressed. Yeah. So early entries, anything intraday, difficult to long into this, but we have made headway into this area here. So if price typically wants to reject from here, it's either going to do so from this down move that led to the liquidity sweep. So again, this area just shows us we really need to get above all of this, this resistance, establish ourselves above here, which also coincides with our high time frame resistance and support level, right? So let's take a look at Axon DAO. There's a lot of interest in this recently. If I can get the right contract. Here we go. This is a real squiggler of a chart, isn't it? So just for context, ignore all of this over here, but this is key area for buying. You see what happened last time. We got an initial little nibble at this here. I just held this here. Look, it's not looking to make like a 1 or 2x on these things, right? These are longer term holds for me. So looking for much bigger upside or really kind of, nothing at all. You just got to accept that within your risk portfolio, right? But ultimately, really good team, really good project, fundamental team, like them a lot. So for me, it's about seeing some kind of technicals play out now. So on a weekly, this is the key area for buying. Yeah, for me to add on the daily as we move here, we saw the plays. I explained that if I wanted to look to build any swing positions or anything on this, not how I'm actually looking at this, right? This was the area of support. That was the daily gap. This now became the daily inversion, and this has just kept kept price suppressed the whole way through. All right. This was a nice area of support down here. This is another one here that we can see a key pivot, support to resistance to support, deviation underneath, retest, sell off, deviation back above, back below here. So we're kind of operating between these two levels at the moment. We've stepped back into this range. So like I say, I'm looking to just nibble at this as it gets lower. But breakouts above here, I think, is when we really start to see this get quite exciting, because we've just got key liquidity here and here. So we can see a really fast move up into this. And look, if we're looking at this on a risk to reward perspective, let's say like I've added some here and I'm saying to myself, all right, I'm not going to place a hard stop on this because I want to buy more. But if I did want to do that, and I would say, okay, well, probably under here then, if this has been the key support, if we're running that up into there, you've got a 3.8R trade on your hand there already. You're buying right at the lows. Doesn't mean you just shed it there, right? The whole point in this is if you've got conviction in the project, you're looking for it to retest its highs previously, then you're in the realms of 20R, all right? So Manasam, XRP, my friend. Yeah, of course. Make some time for XRP for you, mate. So yeah, that's where we are. Axondale, like it, great team, good project, fits the narrative. Just like any major, beta risk asset at the moment, just getting a little bit pummeled down at these levels. But how many times have you looked at charts and prices up here somewhere, and you say to yourself, "God, I wish I'd been one of those people that bought down here," right? This isn't advice, but you will ask yourself this question all the time, right? And then what will happen is you'll be buying something when it's up here with limited upside, and you look at the charts again and go, yeah, could have really bought that down here. Ultimately, you want to buy when there's blood in the water, not when there's euphoria in the air. Soman, you're very welcome, mate. Doge. Let's have a look at our old mate Doge. What's going on with this? We obviously didn't do it on this one. Okay, well, we got a fresh chart here, so let's make the most of that. Doge. Look at this level. We want to talk about finding these prior areas of consolidation, right? Why is this important? There is obviously a little bit of hindsight in this, right? Of course there is, but hindsight was here. Then we didn't quite get the retest on this. Oh, no, actually, we kind of did, because I haven't really carried that into the wicks. So you barely got a little tickle of this here, and price just absolutely ripped. So that's key for sure here for me on a weekly scale. Not saying we're getting back down to there, but if we do, I think there are probably some quite nice buying opportunities there. Now we come lower low, higher higher, higher low, higher higher. So we have got some nice structure going on here on the weekly with price pushing up. We kind of just tickled into this weekly gap here. So let's draw that in. I'll make that green just for anybody that's kind of not familiar with these. So this is where we would be looking for potential long positions. Price kind of drawing down into this could be a good position. Moving this now onto the daily, if we don't draw down into this, I do personally like to see price take some form of liquidity. We've got equal lows below here now, which is one of the best liquidity pools you can ask for, especially when they're sat atop a higher time frame bullish gap. So I'm always looking for, where are the key pivot points here, right? Where was price finding strong support? Where was it finding resistance? I mean, if we look back here, we can see a very clean line kind of coming through here, which corresponds with this gap, which is quite nice. Then again, right, on both sides of this, you're looking for these consolidations. Yeah, this is the down move here before price really ripped higher. So if you focus on, you can use either the candles, you just include the, either the most recent candles in here, but a good way to do it, especially when you're starting out, is just looking at that down move, right? So taking it from the high to the low. Yeah, there's the clean high, there's the low, right? What was this? This was the down move before price really ripped, either manipulation, or this is where sellers were trying to sell, meaning again, if they've held through this epic drawdown, and people do, right, price comes back to here, allows them to either mitigate, yeah, if they were trying to sell there, they can close their positions out, which then allows price to move higher and sometimes quite aggressively, right? So leave that. I'm going to take this off the chart here, right? But that's just the idea of this consolidation. So we're in a position here that, in my opinion, looks decent for building some potential longs. So what do I want to see? Well, on the 4 hour, I think it's going to be very difficult for price to not want to come down and take out these lows, by the way. But if it doesn't, we can see the start of resurgence here coming in. We've got the higher here. This could be the higher low. So we can see price come above here. If I was looking at this from a safe perspective, I'd be saying, okay, well, this is what I expected to support price higher. Had this expansion, confirmed this as an area of demand when we closed above it with this candle, moved up higher. I first of all would have expected price to kind of move in and around these levels. Often if you see these levels left, it gives you a failure swing. It can be a fundamental driver. It can be a lot of different factors, right? But ultimately, we've kind of left equal highs up here on the 4 hours now. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be relatively equal. Great liquidity pockets here and here. So this failed to support price. We closed below it. We're now retesting it. Ultimately, I look for those to then be driving price lower. Okay. Why? Because it was a bullish order block. It failed. Closing below it makes this a breaker candle. Not the best, because you really want it to be the last down candle before price pushes up and takes liquidity, which this didn't. So it's basically like an inversion order block, yeah? Or an area we expected to become demand turning into supply. And these areas can often force price down a little bit lower. And these are the real key lows. So what would change my mind on that? Well, quite simply, if we close back above this, I'd be thinking, well, these are pretty tasty targets, right? So you could build in maybe like an intraday short-term swing position and then look to pyramid that as you move up into a longer term swing position if you get what you want to see. But ultimately, I think we either come down and take out these lows, we look for longs down here. If we close back above this here on the lower time frame, looking for those structural breakouts and then driving this higher into equal highs, I would still be a little bit cautious in this. The conditions still very much favor taking profit and kind of protecting those positions, in my opinion, anyway. So a couple more to go before we finish up. We're going to take a look at Injective for our friend that asked. I'll rip through these ones a bit quicker, guys. Right, got a couple of minutes left. Weekly, nothing really to write home about. This was the key high that we expected to reject price. And again, we kind of left, or on the close of this candle, we will have potential equal highs above here. And remember, it needs weekly confirmation though, all right? Daily tells us a lot more here in terms of why we've been looking at this area. Support through here, lost, retest, resistance, deviation, underside retest, sold off. Why I was quite surprised, not surprised, but as what I said about this high being key, because we broke out of this lovely and then saw this rejection here. We came back to this daily order block or area of demand, yeah? And ultimately now what's happened, if we look at this in the terms of what we're discussing before, I'm going to leave this on because we want to look and see what our plan was last week. But again, remember, right, if this was the key area, I'm going to do this in just purple just so it really stands out, right? Down close candle, support, nice longs into these highs. Took this, failed to displace or move above it. We saw the rejection, okay? Then we say, okay, well, this was the area that held before. What do we look for now? Price closed underneath it. What do we get? Yeah, this would have been a breaker for this move here, but actually price closing under this low here, yeah, with this candle makes this a larger breaker as well. So this whole area, we're ramming into resistance when we close below. We've had the retest and now we've started to see the sell-off. So looking towards this low over here, right, price can flush that out. But ultimately, we know where the key resistance is above us. Get back above here. And then I think we make a move on this high quite nicely. Just to give the extra context around the 4 hour, this was the play we were looking for. Same thing, break a candle. This was the up move before price flushed liquidity. We got the close above, looking for the retest here. And look what happened. Price has closed within 2 candles straight below it. What do we then do? If this was support and this is turned to resistance now, we're looking for price to flush lower and we identified this as the key low, right? Again, look how price reacts to this. Buyers trying to step in here at this low, fail, close below it, retest it, sell off lower, all right? And then you look left for the liquidity in here or this consolidation before price moved up. So as we are here, now this is the key low for me, down at 11.919. Aside from that, I want to see price trading back above the kind of mid-14s. Yeah, and then I think we can start to look a bit higher here on Injective. ENA. Oh, I don't think we've covered this one on the crypto charts. Actually, let's have a look. Nice. Okay, clean chart, weekly, decent, nice few weeks off the back of this, suppressed by this kind of gap here at the moment, which is fine. Daily should give us some more information. Key things here on the daily are this bullish gap is supporting the market, which is fine. Price failing to kind of get into these highs up here, right? So I think that's quite interesting. If I was looking at this as really tight resistance here, I'd be looking in and around this. So maybe we see some kind of breakout of this if we hold this level. This was the down move before price closed above. So maybe we're drawing back into this area or potentially this area here. Oh, mate, don't. Nice. That's what you're waiting for. Good, man. Yeah, I'm going to get on TTWO. In fact, it's the very next one coming out, Gibral Master. Apologies, been rambling on a bit more than usual. Well, not more than usual. I always ramble on. But apologies for keeping you waiting. So there's our order block. Yeah, this was the retest before. Didn't really dig in. So something like this, retest this area or hold this gap, get back above this level, see a strong breakout of this. And I think this is when we're ready to move on ENA. Because, yeah, if we look at this here as well, right, what have we got? Deviation, price gets back below deviation. Look at the upside wicks here. Yeah, when you want to see these kind of breakouts, let's just use this as an example. Not a great example because you would have had this lower, right? But when price kind of breaks out from these here, look at the wicks, right? This comes into the consolidation, sets the order block, longer downside wick telling you buyers are stepping in here. You can also use things like the CBD, right? And then price really rips. Okay, so that's what I'd be looking for here. You can adjust this line as well if it makes sense. So here on the daily, for example, that's really nice. So that for me ultimately is more clean. Coming in, holding this high, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. All right, look at all these touch points through here. So I think that's a really nice clean chart there. I think we get that reaction in here, break and hold above this. Yeah, maybe looking to hold these up close candles that lead to the flush, and then build a base here and move higher. That's what I'd be looking at on ENA. So let's at TTWO. TTW. Oh, okay. Let's have a look. TTWO. Oh, nice. A stock, huh? Well played, Gibral Master. Don't get to look at many stocks on here, right? So these, we really want to zoom out on these. Wow. Okay, nice. Software company, right? Really interesting. Typically, my approach to stocks is more based around moving averages because I obviously invest. I very rarely swing trade stocks, right? So I've got that, and then the 200 period moving average on here. Now, for me, I want to see two things. I want to see price trading above the 200 period moving average. Obviously, I want other things as well. Like I want to see decent fundamentals behind it. I want to understand the news. But look how we've just got this compression here. What do I look for? I look for the cross for the moving averages to get back in order. Yeah, so now 200, 100, 50, 20. Look for them to start fanning out. These consolidations on the pullbacks towards this area here are just beautiful, right? Again, dips below here and recoveries of the 20 period moving average, if this thing is looking to continue trending, in my opinion, are a really, really, really good option. So let's just look at this quickly. So where was this? This was the kind of tricky because you got all of this in here, but this really was the up move. Maybe if we're looking at that as the whole kind of consolidation within here, I think that's quite a key area, right? And kind of offered resistance here, resistance here. This was the consolidation before price sold off. Price has now come back here, dipped back into this a little bit, but that was to test this consolidation here, and buyers stepped in aggressively. So a few things. I want to see the moving averages hold, and then I'm just looking for these, these down close candles to hold price. At the moment, we're still within the range of this higher one here as well. So price getting back above this level here, I think at 227.25, closing above this and holding this, I think is a sign of continuation here on the weekly, obviously on the daily. Yeah, we can overlay the same things, and then we can look for price to come in. If I'm using a shorter term moving average, normally I'm favoring a 9 and a 20. Yeah, so as we can see here, price comes into this key area, holding here. We wait for these to cross back into order, and then this is where we look to get our buys. We hold them as long as the 200's above, crossed over here, meaning that we were buyers down here. We were shedding our position up here, which would have been quite a nice return, actually. Well, we're still in order, still in order, still in order. There's the cross and the close, almost 10%. That's really, really nice on a stock. Craigie boy, you're always welcome, mate. I hope work's not getting in the way of too much of a good time. So, again, I just wait for these to cross here, wait for the moving averages to cross. Hopefully that ties in with a nice weekly close above here, and I think this thing's ready to pop. Sui really quickly, XRP, and then I'm away, all right? And then we have actually covered them all, which would be really nice. So, Sui. And the magnet. If you're ever praying in the market, stick a magnet on the chart, right? It really did come up, but it left this failure swing after we longed it from the recovery of this level here. We got stopped out on the first attempt, recovered it back here, and then longed it, held it all the way up to here, expecting it to hit this level. It didn't, had a big correction. Ultimately took out my trading stop before it ripped in, but it didn't manage to hold above this high. But it does always make me laugh when I see I've put a magnet on the chart. Normally means it's more in hope than expectation, but sometimes I have good conviction behind them as well. I'm going to get rid of this fib here because it's really old data here now, right? So I don't think we need this. We will keep this on here though because it's still relevant again as a point of mitigation. The up close move here as price moved across. That's currently supporting price. Yeah, sellers were prominent here. Price flushed out, held even in here before we got the breakout, and this is now a retest we're holding of this area. That's more related to this up move here, by the way. That is the gap. I just extended it for ease. On a daily scale, I think we've got our range here on SUI, right? So I think we could come down here to test the low at 2.97 and recover this, hold within this area. I expect range high to be tested. If not, I want to see the range higher. Closed above here at 3.94. Yeah. So then we'd have a nice structure recovery on the daily, strong close above, wait for this area to hold. If we start to flush and retest, then targeting the range lows here on SUI. And we're going to finish up on XRP as well for our friend Soman. What are we, USD? I think we did this on the crypto chart. Let's have a look. Yeah, obviously a little while ago. So let's get some context. Weekly, high, bodies held this, rejection here as well. So now, wick down below this, still holding this area. So I'm okay here on XRP. I'm okay. Am I okay? No, I mean, to just contextualize that more, as long as we hold this level, that's good. We did get the close below here, but remember, we wait for price to engage with this here. You either want to see a long wick rejection, telling us that the buyers are getting absorbed here and sellers are taking control. If not, then this could be a deviation and price looks to be stepping above here. I think a good kind of test for this will be price kind of closing above this or price closing above this. Yeah, ideally this one here. I think this is the down move, takes liquidity. We've got the small bullish candle here or this one here that would form the breaker. Yeah, so here, or here, depending on how safe you want to be, that's the time for me to start getting back into XRP, I think. If we step back down below here, I'm watching this low. Want to see that hold. And then just one more thing before we finish up. Kind of coincides with this as well. If this is our area of demand, our order block, what happened? Price came in, moved above, tested this area, moved away, then flushed below it here, but quickly recovered it. So at the moment, I'm kind of saying, okay, let's see what happens here. Price should have no reason to now deviate this level again. So if we get something like this, price does come down, but quite quickly recovers it. I think we're okay. However, if we get something more like this, price finds resistance here, then looking for this level here as well to be the kind of line in the sand offering resistance as price could flush lower. If you're more on the intraday side of things, you're using the 4 hours, the higher time frame. Again, these levels are the most key for me. Yeah. So looking for this to be set within here. At the minute, price looking like it's trying to purge down lower. If we recover this structure here, then happy days. I'll be more willing to step in a little bit earlier here for some scalps, but ultimately the daily is just so very clean here. Yeah, I'm going to wait for closes above these down close candles here, or ultimately the breaker here, and then I think we got a lot of clear sky above. All right, legends. Well, thank you very, very much for sticking with me here. Let me just ping you this again so you don't forget. You can get involved here. All you have to do is go to the Burb, BIRB, Nest, Twitter. You can find it pinned at the top. And if you just want, a load of goodies and some free money, you can go on there. Also to try OKX. We've got to know the company, the exchange a lot better over the last few years. Spent a lot of time with them in Dubai, Singapore, and, They are a really, really good team, very, very progressive. So go and try them out. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like about them. All right. But ultimately, my interest is bringing you these things because, like last time, you get your free F1 cap. Loads of people sending me little pictures, so I love that. Hopefully, one of you guys wins that VIP trip to the Dutch Grand Prix as well. If you do, please let me know. We'd love some pictures of that as well. And the same with this. Just go and get yourself some free money. Not only that, if you're getting these tokens and we do get this run, then that $100 very quickly becomes a lot more. And don't forget, you get free access for a month to the paid services on our Discord. If you want to know anything more about it, please don't hesitate to just go down in the description. You can find loads of stuff on there. All right. Oh, sorry. Found a few questions on here. I'll answer before I go. Craigie boy, not diddling in the middle. So just one of my favorite traders and human beings called Follis always says that in a range. Don't diddle in the middle. Just magnificent human being. Gibral Master, you're more than welcome. What's your thoughts on the CT being so bearish these days? Would you think it's wise to be a contrary trader these days? Yes, so often people look, bear porn sells. Yeah. Panic sells. Think about the media. Crypto Twitter's no different. People are often just farming you for engagement, right? There's very few people in this space offering genuine value. So make sure you find the ones that you do. And then when you find them, hold on to those people and just make sure that they do have a contrarian point of view. If you're looking at someone that's just always bullish when it seems bearish, or always bearish when it seems bullish, or it's just always one side or the other, ignore them. They don't have what it takes to understand these markets. They're just probably quite good marketers in truth, and that's where they're getting your kind of click from. Same in traditional media, fear sells, unfortunately. Just have your own plan, find good like-minded analysts who are willing to look at the market from both sides, understand the fundamental, understand the economic side, delete everybody else, right? Even if that's me, if you think that I bring noise to your timeline because I'm not aligned with the way that you trade and stuff like that, then don't have people like that on there. Just clear it out. It will be the biggest distractor you could ever wish to remove. Social media. Craigie boy, very welcome, mate. Investor since October on that one, Gibral Master. That was an awesome time to buy. Lucerino, very welcome, and Michael Maguire. Everybody else that joined us live today as well, thank you so much. Almost 3,000 of you again on the stream today. Really appreciate every single one of you. For those of you who are over at the Bird Nest with us, I'll be kicking off live trading in about 15 minutes from now. So I'll see you on there, and a focus today will be on the NASDAQ, the NQ contract. But we will be taking a look at crypto as well. And for those of you that aren't, you can find out how to join us in the description. You can even come along and join us for free by following the OKX that is on the screen. All right, have a fantastic week. I'll be back with you live on Monday. And don't forget, always feel free to reach out on Twitter. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Blessings, be safe, be good to one another, and I'll see you out here on Monday.